In the studio with me for the first 15 minutes will be Andrew Canter, who's the CIO of Fututegrowth, and that's where the noise emanated from. And also in Johannesburg is Singer Kunwisa, who is from, where is Singer from? He is from Rand Smith, portfolio manager at Rand Smith. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Rand and the implications of what's happened and whether this will snowball into something different. But before then, let's have a look at the markets and start with the JSE. Okay, let's start with the JSE because the JSE today wasn't a great place to be. It was down 1 1/3%. Look at that, 1 1/3% down, 52,733. The all-share index of the local market, and the sectors looked like this. The sectors weren't great either. I mean, it was, I think, the platinums which were the really bad ones, but you're not going to see those on your screen. But what you will see is the banks down 1.9%, financials down 0.9%. Resources stocks were 3.2% weaker, and industrial shares were 0.8% down. What about commodities in US dollar terms? Well, the dollar has been strong recently, and that strength has been embellished a bit today. So having been upped earlier on today, the gold price is now down $2.50. Platinum is down nearly $3 to $10.49.5, and Brent crude oil $47.10, down $1.27 or 2.6%. Quite a big move. What about the South African rand? Well, dollar rand 14.72, euro rand 16.40, British pound against the rand 19.32 now. And the euro dollar is around about 1.1120. In the studio with me in Cape Town is Andrew Canter, who's the CIO of Fututegrowth. And this is the story that I'm reading here, Andrew Canter. And it says here, Africa's biggest private fixed income money manager will stop lending money to 6 of South Africa's largest state companies because it's concerned, that's you, about how they are being run, government infighting and threats to the independence of the finance ministry. Is this a true reflection of your decision?
Maybe not fully true. The answer is what the answer is. We're in the asset management business, not the political realm.
Yeah.
We all read the press. We all see the evident fighting between different departments of government. There's various allegations and counter-allegations and claims and counterclaims. We have to make investment decisions. As we were sitting in credit committees in the last week, we were realizing that it was very hard to take a 5, 10, or 20-year view on the SOEs in South Africa. And this is financial sustainability. While they are strong now, and they got through credit, but 5 to 10 years forward, we're worried about the governance of them. And the key thing that changed really in the past week, aside from the continued fight between National Treasury and the administration, again, the realm of politics, not my domain, but also the President's office of a formation of a council of some sort, whose agenda is unclear, whose context is unclear. We don't know what it means, and there's no explanation of that, and it could be anything from a good-hearted attempt to reduce costs and improve efficiencies of the SOEs, or it could be a nefarious attempt to achieve some other goal, and we don't know. Yeah. So what we're finding is, how do you make an investment decision in that context? And so you can't. And so we feel it's appropriate, or we felt it was appropriate to start telling the SOEs we were pulling in lines. We realized we were going to have to make client communications, and once you start drafting that, you have to draft that assuming it's going to be public, so we decided to just tell the world.
Just before we speak to you, Singh, I was just going to ask one more follow-up question. Question here. We don't know, is what you just said. We don't know what's going on, and that seems to be an all-pervading influence in the South African markets at the moment. We don't know what is going on behind the scenes, so you have to, when you don't know, you have to pull back.
Well, and particularly in credit. I mean, when you make a loan, as much as we could say it's a listed bond, or often it's unlisted in our case, you think you can trade it. You can't necessarily trade it. By the time the news is out, you're stuck with that bond. You're in there for 10 years. So you need to take a 10-year view of credits. And yeah, I mean, the world's going to change. We know it will, one way or the other. But right now, we don't know. And that is a pervasive thing. And it does affect the cost of capital for all South African individuals and entities and government entities.
Singer, when you saw this story coming out, what did you think immediately? Did you think it was politically motivated, or did you think exactly how Andrew has described it now? It's a governance issue.
Lindsay, I thought, to be honest, it was prudent. just like any typical fund manager would react when there's uncertainty around what they're putting money into. So my initial reaction was, if this is client money, obviously a fund manager has to worry where they're investing it, because they must account at the end of the day. There's consequences in investing. So this is all prudency to me. Perhaps the question I've got now for Andrew is, when are they planning to actually stop, lending money to SOEs? Would it be immediate, or would they further review the situation that's occurring at the moment within the SOEs in SA?
Right. So it was immediate. The decision was taken on Monday. We were in negotiations with 3 SOEs on 3 different loans, and we have immediately communicated to them in the last 2 days about our decision and the reasons therefore. But I think you hit the nail on the head in your preamble, which is that we're investment managers like yourself. The situation changes, we have to change, and that's what we've done here. The remedy, if you will, for lack of a better word, is we are going to proactively engage with these 6 SOEs, and I should say these 6 OSEs for a start, and understand how their governance works. What are our concerns? Our concerns, we're talking about lending agencies like the DBSA or Land Bank or IDC. They make loans. We need to look at how their credit committees are constituted. How independent are their boards? How independent are the credit committees? How many independent non-executives are on those committees? How do they deal with politically exposed persons or loans to politically exposed persons? I realize that's a technical term from the phase legislation, but that's what they are, politically exposed persons, and companies have to be aware of that. We want to get some clarity around the separation between political interference and ongoing operations, appropriate operations of development finance agencies. That's really what this is about. If we can get through that quickly, we will be back lending to these entities as fast as possible. And this is important. I have no desire to reduce funding to agencies who are supporting South Africa's national development. Land Bank, it's land reform, it's agricultural development, it's rural development. That's a terrible thing to pull money from the Land Bank, for example.
Okay, 1.8 billion out of 170 billion. People will say, well, it's just a drop in the ocean, but is the 1.8 billion truly representative of what's going on, or is there something more than that? In other words, the investments you've already made, are they going to be under threat as well?
So we're holding quite a lot of exposure to these entities. If anybody thinks I'm talking my book, they're wrong. This is not going to be pleasant. If other asset managers follow us, the cost of capital to these entities will rise, and that's not going to help us. 1.8 billion is a big ticket in my life. It's a.
Andrew's phone is just going now because everyone's looking for him. But carry on, Andrew, please.
Sorry about that. It's a big number in our lives. It's the deals we've been negotiating for the past month only, and take that forward. Plus, we're not going to be rolling over existing debt until we get clarity on these situations. So there it is. It is a number.
Yeah. Singer, what do you think when you see the Rand doing this? Is this, do you get the impression that this is the end game now? This is one of the factors that will actually make people sit up and take notice and actually perpetuate some sort of solution to the problems that have perpetuated what Andrew has just been talking about?
Yeah, no doubt, Lindsay. I think everyone who's a stakeholder, who's involved in the running of this country, should take a closer look, as well as obviously the global investors that are interested in investing in South Africa. So this is one of the nails that should be pushing this situation, to a solution. So we certainly hope that we could see some clarity around what's going on with regards to SOEs, the management, all the people involved.
Do you think, Andrew, that, as I've said to Singer just now, is that when it manifests itself as hard cash being withdrawn, that the powers that be will say, this is suddenly real? I mean, it's real because foreign investors have a go at the Rand, whether they be hedge fund managers or whatever it is. But this is real money, real South African money being pulled. Now we have to sit down and talk to people like yourself and engage and come to some solution to this extraordinary set of circumstances.
Maybe, maybe not. It's not what we're about. As I say, politics, you don't know which side is really
But in the
telling
back
the
of
truth.
your mind, I mean, people say that to me. I was speaking to an ex-colleague of yours, Wayne McCurry, who said that you are as honest as the day is long and your governance credentials are beyond question. But in the back of your mind, there must be some sort of political nagging.
I'm a taxpayer in South Africa. Right? Of course I worry about where the money's going, and I worry about the headlines I read. But I say again, I don't know what the truth is, because there's always two sides to every story.
Yes.
And so politics is a mental black hole to people who study economics, and I'm being frank about that.
Yes.
Our agenda is I want to stand up in front of pension fund trustees and members of pension funds in 5 years' time and explain why I made that billion-rand loan today. Yeah. That's my agenda. Now, if it will apparently increase the cost of capital for these entities, a sad thing. It apparently today has increased the cost of capital for South Africa as the rand sold off and global bond spreads widened. That's a terrible thing. It's not what I aspire to do. No. To the extent that this government has agendas they wish to achieve of development and human development and spending, it's going to unfortunately increase the cost of those things. I suppose it will get some notice.
Yeah. Singer, over to you.
Yeah, so what would you, perhaps, Andrew, be looking at over, let's say, the next 4 weeks in terms of the engagement to have some clarity and have satisfaction around this matter? Because obviously, you know, putting politics aside, a weak rand is bad for everyone, including the men on the street. Everything goes up as far as inflation is concerned. So, you know, some people might be looking at you and, you know, and wage some attack in terms of you pushing you know, a political agenda. How would you respond to that?
Well, okay, I've already answered that I'm not pushing a political agenda. The South African outlook from a inflation point of view is improving, has been improving markedly. The rand has been weakening in recent days, not my doing, based on what's been going on in the political environment, and that is bad for inflation. But right now we're looking at inflation next year in the mid 5%. We could see a bank rate cut coming at some point. The FRAs aren't saying it yet. Bond yields have come back down, had come back down to the pre-Nenegate levels. So actually the outlook wasn't terrible, although the growth outlook, you know, you could see a dead cat bounce here and some growth of EMs and emerging markets in general. So really, it's not a horrible environment, and this is a marginal discussion in a fairly big cheesecake, if you know what I mean.
The rand has gone 20 cents weaker. I suppose you can say it's because of you, but you have no political agenda. You've made that very clear. It's all to do with governance. It's all to do with what you're mandated to do, and I make responsible returns and socially responsible and moral returns for your investors. What reaction have you had, though? Have you had phone calls? When your phone rang earlier while we were on air, have you had a bit of vitriolic reaction?
Not at all. A couple of tweets that I'm a racist and supporting National Treasury, which I thought was quite funny. But other than that, no. It's been people are receiving it as if it were a political statement, and they're congratulating us. And I'm like, look, I think the only thing that maybe we're bold about is going public with this view. Yeah. It probably have some business consequences, but our view is we must do good business or we must do no business, and that's always been our view.
But nothing from the SOEs themselves?
We spoke to some of the SOEs, of course. We had to advise them, and there the conversations were quite civil. I mean, they understood. I wouldn't say they were over the moon, but they understood what we were asking. They understood we were giving them an invitation to engage with us. And let us be clear, engage with this industry. We're going to be talking, and we are already talking to other asset managers who have similar concerns. So I'm talking here, but I might as well be talking for the industry. And I'm hoping that the industry through CISA will be sending joint letters to the SOE saying, here's what we require as a group of investors. So you don't have to talk to all of us individually and answer 1,000 questions. You can answer a set of questions to one group of investors so you can get it done at once and get clear or not get clear. Because if we don't find independence in these decisions, if we think there's nefarious asset or money allocation going on by the SOEs, we will not give them back the money. It's simple. If we can find that they are properly governed with proper independence, proper non-executive directors, etc., happy to resume lending.
Very
I'm
quickly,
assuming the industry will agree with us.
Last question. I know this is not, this wasn't the reason for it, but do you secretly, again, I can't say secretly because you're on national television, but do you hope that this sets off a chain of events that changes things in South Africa?
The only thing I would hope for is that other asset managers will be rationally sitting in their credit committees coming to similar conclusions at a similar time, and I think they probably are, and that we work together to get the right answers. And by the way, the role of a lender to companies is often to be the check on excesses. Your lender, when he makes your home loan, puts checks on how much debt you can take on your balance sheet against your income. It's part of the role of a lender. And if, to the extent that we assist the SOEs in reviewing how they conduct their businesses, this is, by the way, normal with corporates as well. It's part of ESG work you do with normal corporate loans as well, then we will have served a positive purpose for the long-term sustainability of these entities.
Andrew, thanks very much for popping in this evening. I know you've got a whole list of things you have to do now. That's Andrew Canter, who's the CIO of Fututegrowth.